Hello, I'm Shahida from the English department. Today I'm going to explain about the poem Fog from the NCERT Class 10 First Flight. So, Fog, the poem is written by Carl August Sandburg, 1878 to 1967. He was born an American poet, writer, and editor. He won three Pulitzer Prizes, two for his poetry and one for his biography of Abraham Lincoln. He wrote poems like Grass, Analysis, Chicago, etc. So now come, let's see the summary of the poem. So the summary goes like this. The poet says that the poet has compared fog to a cat. So how the cat comes in a very silent manner, sits, sees the place, and very silently, without giving notice to anything, how it moves. In the same way, how the fog comes to the city and how it moves. So he's telling that he's comparing it with the cat, and he's telling that when the fog arrives, it is also so slow that you hardly notice it until you see or feel it. The same happens when the fog comes to your place, and you will not know when the fog is coming and when the fog is quietly moving away from your place. So nobody can predict about the arrival of fog. Fog arrives quietly and engulfs the entire place and stays on for some time. It creates troubles for everyone but stays there. What is the meaning of trouble there? Actually, you'll not be able to see the opposite picture because of the fog. It's a thick cloud. It is not aware of what is happening around it, and the fog does not know what is happening around the city. Fog causes many hurdles and incidents, but it does not stay at one place for a long time. As we know that when we're traveling, when there's a fog, we can't see the opposite vehicles which are coming before us. So we might, after going very close to that vehicle, only then we can know what is before us. That is why the author is trying to tell us that fog causes hurdles. After some time, it slowly moves away from that place. So, and the fog disappears and it becomes clear all around. So very quietly the fog moves away from there and the place becomes very clear. And the fog disappears and it becomes clear all round, exactly like the cat who comes and sits very quietly. When the cat has to hunt for something, it comes very quietly, sits there, and very quietly it moves away from there. And we can't even notice that when the cat is coming and when the cat is moving away from that place. The same way the author is telling us through this poem. So now let's come see the poem. So here's the poem. The fog. The fog comes on the fog comes on little cat feet. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent hunches and then moves on. So it's a very tiny poem, and the author is telling us that how the fog comes and how he has compared it to a cat and how it watches the city over the harbors and how silently it keeps moving. So line by line, I'll be explaining this to you. The fog comes on a little cat feet. So the fog is a thick cloud of tiny water droplets present in the atmosphere. It is generally seen during the winter season. The poet here describes how the fog moves towards the city and the harbor. He says the fog comes like a cat on its little feet. So how very slowly, you can't even know how the cat comes without any noise, very slowly. In the same way, the fog also comes very slowly on its little feet like a cat, very slowly and calmly. Therefore, the fog is compared to the cat, which enters unpredictable manner. We can't predict how the cat comes. The same way you can't predict how the fog comes and goes. Next he says that over the harbor and city on silent hunches and then moves on. So next the author is trying to tell us that it sits over the whole of the city as a cat sits silently by folding her leg behind and looks round the nearby places. So how does the cat sit folding its leg? We can see only the knee of it. And the same way the fog also starts settling on the places and then keeps watching at the place around it. In the same way the fog sits looking around the city and the harbor, and after a while the fog leaves the city and moves on. Very silently it sits on its hunches and sees the place, and very silently it moves. The poet is telling us that the fog does not stay at a place for a long time and leaves the place after a few hours, just like a cat who silently moves away from that place without being noticed by anyone. So let's see the meaning from line by line. So here the first line, fog. The meaning of fog here, we know about snow, mist, uh, and all these things, but here the author is telling fog. So fog is nothing but a thick cloud. So you see here fog means it's a thick cloud and tiny droplets, and because of droplets we'll not be able to see the other part of a place. And he says especially in the winter we find this. And the meaning of harbor, the fog sits over the harbor, it sits over the harbor. The meaning of harbor is port. Where do we find port? Where the ship has been anchored, there it is port, or it's the other word is called as dock. And on silent hunches, on silent hunches, that is in a very silent manner, like a cat, it folds its knees and sits. Have you seen the fog having legs and knees and all? But he's comparing it with the cat. So the meaning of hunches, it is sitting with the knees bent. So these are the meanings from this poem. And here we don't have the rhyme scheme because it's going in a continuous manner. The fog comes on a little cat feet, it sits looking over the harbor and city on silent hunches and then moves on. So now let's come see the literary device from this poem. So the literary device from this poem are metaphor. The fog is a metaphor. Simile is when we have like and as, it is simile. Metaphor is a direct connected with the object is called as metaphor. So fog here is directly been compared to a cat, and it's been compared to little feet of a cat. So as far as I told you, this poem does not have any rhyming scheme. The poem is of free verse written line by line. It goes on like a story. Embellishment. Embellishment is nothing but when a sentence continues to the next line going in a flow movement. In a free movement, the poem goes on. Like from first line to the last line, it's a continuation. So, and the fog is mainly a personification. The meaning of personification is here the fog has been compared to a cat, and the meaning here comes on a little feet and sits like a cat hunches. It hunches like a cat and sits. So all this is compared to a cat and it is called as personification. The students, I hope you would have understood this poem in a clear manner. So thank you.